What it do, snackers and snackettes? It's your boy Gage. This is Snacking and Hanging, the Loading Snacks Podcast, episode 52. Usual suspects are in the building. Sin, say hi to the people.
Hello, people.
Nice job. Good
That's all I
job.
got. Yeah, that's
Good
all I got.
job, sir. New Joker, say hi to the people.
What's going on, people?
You know what? Good job from you, too. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into the topics of today, which we're going to talk a bit about import gaming, and we'll get into why that is. We're going to talk a little bit about the Injustice 2 beta, and then we're going to talk about this Square Enix IDOS Interactive Crystal Dynamics Marvel game announcement. But before we do that, the World of Van Helsing Death Trap is crack. We may need to rename it Death Crack.
It's big for us right now.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. On the realest of reals, I don't even know how much the game is. I wouldn't have bought it. Like, I would never have looked at that game and been like, oh, let me buy this and try it out. But for those of you who are not aware, it is a RPG that is also a tower defense game.
Yep.
And it seems like really slim pick. Okay, first of all, it was free for Xbox Games with Gold this past month, which is the only reason why I even downloaded it. And a lot of times, even with something like that, I might not have even played it, even though I downloaded it. But I thought to myself, for some reason, let me just give this a whirl and see what it is. Because the other Van Helsing game, which also was a free game with Gold at one point, was kind of cool. So I was like, all right, let me see what's up with this. Now the other one was more of a top down, like Diablo kind of. I don't really like to say clone, but it's that style of game, you know.
Right.
And it's pretty cool actually. But this just hit a certain, like, every now and again, at least for Sin and I, we have a tendency to get into a good tower defense game.
Oh yeah, Dungeon Defenders, Iron Brigade.
Yeah.
Now Death Trap, Van Helsing.
Yeah, it just, like, you know, the co-op, and this again, this seems like slim pickings because there's only like 3 character classes. And then of course the traps are available to anyone, but obviously your classes, you know, change how you can affect what you do with trap. It's just, listen, death crack, you guys, death crack. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on that too long. I just want to say we're having a good time, and if you haven't tried it, you should try it.
Yeah, get a group of friends and go in.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you have a great time like we are.
Yeah. Okay. Having gotten that out of the way, let's talk about import gaming. There is a reason why I bring this up, gentlemen, and it is mostly because with the recent reveal of the Nintendo Switch, one of the things that they made it a point to speak about at the conference, you know, not because telling you how much it's going to cost you to have to play games online is important, but they thought it was important to actually note that the system is going to be region free. And so for those of you who maybe don't know what that means, it just simply means that if you own a Switch, you can buy games from any territory and play them on your Switch. And traditionally in video gaming, that has been something that you couldn't do. Like, you had to jump through some relatively ridiculous hoops. I mean, if you know what you're doing, it's not too difficult. But, like, you know, if you wanted to get a game that was only released, say, in Japan or only released, say, in Europe, you needed something that would allow the system that you bought here in the U.S. to play those games.
Right.
Not just getting through the locking that's on the disc that is designed to prevent you from being able to play it, but also because of things like the way TVs work. We use NTSC on our TVs, and overseas, most places use a PAL signal. It's not worth getting into. Just know they're not the same and they're incompatible, and things like that. Nonetheless, the PlayStation 4 as well as the Xbox One are also region free. And every time an announcement like this comes across, people seem to be really excited about it. Now, I don't think that the mainstream people, like mainstream buyers, the people who only really pick up Call of Duty and Madden or what have you, I don't know that they even know that it's a thing or care for that matter. But there are some folks like us who are a little more into some of everything that tend to get excited when something like this gets announced. And I'm not sure why. I don't see a lot of I will tell you that I see a lot of people importing within like the handheld community. So Game Boys and 3DS, that kind of thing. I see a lot
DSs
of
and
import.
Vitas and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. I don't really see it a lot in console gaming, and maybe I'm just not in those circles, but which to a certain extent, again, because my money is kind of on the Switch is intended to replace the 3DS. But so I kind of actually understand that, and there being some people who are really excited about that aspect. Um, but why is this a big deal? Like, what do you? I mean, is it important to either of you?
It's important to me.
Okay.
Well, the reason why it's important to me is because a lot of these animes that I watch get games that only come out over there. Now I
In
have a
Japan,
chance,
right?
like now I actually have a chance to get a hold of these games. Like One Piece games, like really just started, even though they're 800 episodes in, just started like coming out over here.
Right.
You know what I mean? But before I couldn't get access to any of those kind of games unless I imported. So having all three of these systems now with region free, I can get them, and most of the time they're fighting games. So
Right. You don't really
I
need
can
to be able
finagle
to
my way
read.
through it.
Yeah.
Right, I can finagle my way through a menu, figure out what versus and arcade mode is. You know what I mean, and play the game and have a great time.
Yeah.
So that's why it's big for me.
The hardest um we used to import a lot back in like the
Oh yeah.
Saturn, Dreamcast
Oh
days,
yes,
man.
Dreamcast was a big import day.
Freaking Saturn ST keys plugged into the back of it.
Mm.
Like we I mean we hoop jumped. You know what I mean? Like we did. We hoop jumped, and we would have games like Tekken 3, Tekken Tag, Soul Calibur like a
Yeah, I
year
remember we
before anybody else had it.
yeah, we did that with Soul Calibur, but then when it finally came out over here, couldn't nobody touch us.
Yeah, like it was a little ridiculous, but
Yeah.
probably the most difficult game we did that with was Rival Schools. Cuz Rival Schools, man, you had to read. Like the
Oh
story
yeah, we
mode
was
in
on
that
Game Facts.
was like trying to figure out what you would like that was, but outside of that, like maybe a lot of people don't know, but like a lot of times like fighting games, a lot of the menus and stuff, like Capcom fighting games, they're in English. A lot of times. Um
Yeah.
Now they might, and depending on what it is, like Street Fighter games, and yeah, Ryu speaks in Japanese. And if there's a point at which he talks or something like that, but like a character like Guile doesn't. You know what I mean? Like it's just they're relatively easy to get and mess with. But the thing is, fighting games have become so popular that so many of those things do usually come here unless they are more like what you're talking about, where it's an anime that maybe just
Right.
doesn't have the kind of following here that would warrant them making a game and trying to ship it and sell
Right.
it over here.
Right.
Which again is happening more often. But what about new Joker? Does this I mean, does it matter to you at all? Are there games that you would import, RPGs or anything like that?
Yeah, I think there would be a few. Like for me, the most that I've really imported would have been back on the original PlayStation, kind of the same thing from what Sin said. Um, Dragon Ball Z, as much as we had like they released the American version where you could get it, it was the difference of me paying. And this was back when Funko Land. I'm sure you guys remember Funko Land. Um,
Oh yeah.
they had it. It was $120 versus I actually was able to get the actual Japanese copy of the game, and I think I paid maybe 30 or $40 for it. And same thing, I just
Man,
worked my
what?
way.
No way.
Mm,
Where'd you get that from for 30? Nah, it was possible. We used to use what was that import place we used to use in New York?
Was it
Sin?
N
Starland maybe.
NCS
N yeah,
nah
NCS
NCSX.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
NCSX. I mean, we use places around here too, but um NCSX man would like next day shipping, dude. Like you would
Hell yeah.
have that joint if you ordered by 12 in the afternoon, you would have that thing the next day. And
Yep.
it was yeah. I'm with you.
But yeah, I mean, and especially because like during that time, like I was young. Of course, I didn't have no income of my own self, so it was like
Right.
if I were to tell my folks, be like, yeah, this is like it's like $70. It's like, oh no, we not doing that. We gonna find this somehow cheaper, and
Yeah.
we managed. And then next from there, PlayStation 3, Gundam games, because there's
Mm.
a ton of Gundam games
Mm-hmm.
that came out, but literally over here in the U.S. we maybe got one or two of those at a time. So I have a whole entire collection of imported Gundam games that hey, I may not know initially what they're saying, but I know some of the things from watching the series. Is most of those games just follow through the series, so you kind of know what's going on. And
Right. Which is
thank
like a lot of the
goodness,
anime games. Yeah, I mean the other anime
exactly.
games, yeah.
And thank goodness for just showing, hey, for certain controls, hit square or hit circle, hit X, you would at least know what you were doing to follow along with it. So it never
Yeah.
really bothered me as much. It was just I just loved to play them. So found a way to make it happen.
You know, when it was funny because when I was in Japan, I almost bought a Gundam game for the Vita when I was out there, but I
Uh
wasn't sure if I would be able to play it on my Vita. But I almost did.
right. You didn't know if it was going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I it's interesting to me and I wonder if um is it makes me wonder whether or not there's something else to it. Like I would think okay, maybe if you live overseas. Like I put it this way, like in Australia, their pricing for video games is like super high because of like taxes and different things like that where if I'm not mistaken, where like the Switch is going to be 300 here, for them it would be the equivalent of like $450.
Ouch.
Um yeah, so I guess what I don't know is whether or not it would be cheaper for them to try to get their hands on like a US Switch, you know what I mean? And then just be able to
I
buy
see what you're
games
saying.
because it might be cheaper for them to do it because they'll work. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I also have to imagine that in some way, maybe it's just cheaper for the console manufacturers to not have to manufacture in this additional piece of technology, be it hardware or software, that essentially locks you out of being able to play a game that's from a different region. And really,
Right.
I guess the question really would be, I think for me, it was always when we were younger, it was like, why does this even exist? Like, why is it that if a game was made for Japanese audiences and the language is written in Japanese, does it not work on, you know what I mean, the US version of the system? And there was a time when like I guess to a certain extent you could say it made sense because the machines were built differently, like a Famicom and a SNES or an NES don't even look like the same piece of hardware.
Right.
You know what I mean in terms of, how they're designed.
Yeah.
With cartridges, even the cartridges were designed differently, but I can remember, like with a Super Nintendo, um a friend of mine paid like $90 to import Street Fighter 2 early and had to pay, I can't remember how much he paid for the piece, but it basically was a piece that sat inside the SNES, and then you plugged the Japanese cartridge into that because there was a piece cut out on like the back of the Japanese cartridge or vice versa, so that it's not that the system was not actually able to play it. It was just that there was a piece of plastic that they manufactured into the shape that the cartridge slid into that
And it
just
just
wouldn't
didn't
let the
fit.
Japanese cartridge slide into it. But the machine itself
Mm,
could play them just fine. And it just seems
gotcha.
weird to me, like, what is the point in that? You know what I mean? Like, why would you do that? Wouldn't it make more sense to make the slot the same? And as far as manufacturing the actual cartridges, manufacture them all the same, cut down
That
costs
don't
on
make,
trying to you know what I'm saying? Like, I just
hey,
You
that
would
makes sense
think.
to me, and it seems like it's money you're missing out of. Like, if somebody wants to order the Japanese version, so what? Let them order it. That's just more money in your pocket.
right. I don't get
You
it.
know?
It doesn't I don't know. It never really made sense to me for the region locking to be there in the first place. I just find it weird that people seem so excited about it and so many people seem not to use it. Partially maybe because it's I don't know, maybe just because it's harder to keep up with what's been released somewhere else that you don't have access to. And then there's always a possibility that maybe they do a translated version of a game that you wanted and you get it anyway, but if you just want it early,
True.
which again, we did a lot, Sin,
Yes,
for
we did.
for sure. Um, but I don't know. It just seemed a little weird to me. And I just wonder if there's maybe a monetary reason, if there's something else that's going on behind that helped to prompt the companies to say, look, man, we're just going to manufacture one version of this. We're not, going to pour the extra dollars into, trying to do something to keep people out when all they really want to do is give us money to play our games. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? Like, I don't, yeah,
Hmm.
like, I don't see the real purpose of it. Um, but is there anything on the radar? Like I know, Sin, you'd get excited about the Yakuza games and maybe being able to play those early. But considering, even though they're like action games, considering the amount of like RPG elements and like speech and stuff that's in that, would that be something that you would want to import, or would you just wait for the U.S. version?
Well, if the thing with the US version is, it's still all Japanese and all subtitled. So nothing, well, the text stuff has been translated to English.
Right.
If that's still there on the Japanese version, then heck yeah, we'll get it early.
Right. If you
Because the whole
can
game is
change
subtitled
the
anyway.
yeah, if you can actually change the subtitle so that they read in English.
Yeah, then yeah, I would just get it from there instead of waiting because we don't get them till like a year after they've already been released over there.
Yeah.
Now, the only good thing about that is I can go online when I get stuck and look up, go to GameFAQs and figure my way around stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we
But being
used to
able to have
have
it when it
to.
comes out, yeah,
Yeah.
like being able to have it when it comes out. If all I could do that, absolutely I would. Absolutely, I
Okay.
wouldn't wait a year to get it.
I could dig that. I mean, I I'm certainly beyond the point. I mean, it used to be we used to destroy forests of trees, printing translation guides.
Oh Lord, rival schools. Yeah,
Oh
that was that. That was
man.
that was a serious one we went through with that.
Yeah, I mean, again, we did it
Serious
with
one.
other stuff, man, but just, as a whole, I don't know. I think that I think it's a good thing for the industry because I just feel like it's one of those things that will allow more people to have access to games that they wouldn't otherwise
Normally
ever
get.
get a chance to play. But I also think to a certain extent it could be healthy for developers and for development because it allows them to put more dollars in their pocket that they may not see, although minute it may be. You know what I mean? At some point, that threshold
Hmm.
for whether or not you get to keep making games or not, and continue to have a job or not. Sometimes banks on that kind of stuff. So, um, I just think it's a good thing for the industry. Um, so I think that's why I get excited about it. It's weird. I think from a nostalgia standpoint, I'm kind of like yes, you know what I mean. Like I can get games that,
Hmm.
but I don't really do it anymore. You know what I mean? Like I certainly don't feel like I have time to sit down and try to read a translation to make something work. But if you told me right now that I was gonna be able to get like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite like 6 months early, it'd be a wrap.
Hey,
It
hey,
would be it would be an
yeah.
absolute wrap.
Feel you for
Um,
that.
yeah. I'd be on it, and I'd still probably buy the U.S. version, if need be, later on. Because my only thing with that would be like, man, okay, if I have the import version, and say you guys wait to get it when it's the U.S. version, would we be able to play? As far as I can tell, yeah, because you play. I mean, you play online
Okay.
against people who are overseas anyway, right? I mean, is that would it? I don't know. I don't see that. I don't think that would be an issue. I know I
I hope
wouldn't. I,
not. I
I know
hope
I
not.
wouldn't want to play through it and open all those characters and then do it all over again.
I feel you on that.
So yeah, I just thought that was a little bit of an interesting topic I wanted to cover. We're gonna cover a couple other things. Why don't we take a quick break and then we'll come back so New Joker can enlighten us on this Injustice 2 beta a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Snacking and Hanging, episode 52. Uh, New Joker,
Yes, sir.
my man. You were fortunate enough to get selected to take part in the Injustice 2 multiplayer beta that is happening currently. I don't think it'll still be happening by the time people hear this, but it is currently happening. Um, Talk to us, man. Tell us about your impressions so far.
So far, I will say it is really good. I mean, just to give you an idea, when I got off of work yesterday, I came home, started playing it, and I literally forgot to eat because I just couldn't stop playing it. Um, so aside from just the online gameplay, I'm really loving the customization that you have the ability to do in Injustice 2 so far. So as you play through, you unlock different pieces of equipment that you can use, whether it be let's say Supergirl, for instance, because by far right now she's my favorite character out of the four possibles that you can play with: Supergirl, Batman, Superman, and Atrocitus. But you can change, like say, um, the gear, your pants, your boots, your gloves, your sleeves, like everything, even down to the S on your chest. Every little piece of armor makes a difference to your overall stats. So where in the first one, it literally was just you picked your person, you fought, you didn't necessarily have like a tactical advantage over anybody. You were kind of on the same playing field. But say depending on the type of style that you like to fight, whether it be you like to have maybe a heavier health bar and have some more health on there versus maybe you're someone just like get it in close and personal and just beat somebody up. So you can tailor your armor to be specific around what you want it to be. Um, I've noticed as you progress.
So
Oh, go.
is that so? It sounds to me like that's a bit of an evolution on what NetherRealms did with Mortal Kombat X, where they gave you like three different versions of the same character to play
I
with.
guess you could
In this,
say.
you have more control over being able to decide what type of play style you want to use, right? Like then you like in Mortal Kombat X, you might have a favorite character, but you generally also had a favorite version of
Version.
that character that had a different play style, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So this
So
allows you to
here's a
build
question:
that. Okay.
Does the pieces of armor and stuff you get, does it adjust your moves any, or
Not
just kind of like, or just tweak the
not
stats?
the armor, it doesn't, but you also have two ability slots, and you can drop certain things in those ability slots that may alter one or two of your moves, just to be like a different variation of it. But it's not like you're
Okay.
gonna absolutely have a major change. I do know when the full game comes out with the ultimate version, there it seems like in order to, I guess, tone down the how many characters they're going to have in the selection menu. Say for instance, if you choose the Flash, he's going to have the alternate skin to become the reverse Flash. Like his voice is going to change, the costume is going to change, but it doesn't seem like you'll have like the Flash and the reverse Flash to just pick out in the list of characters. You'll just alter them
Right.
inside
Got you.
of the main one. Same thing goes for Green Lantern, which is a good example. You can go between Hal Jordan and John Stewart.
Right, which they did in the last game.
Hmm.
In the first Injustice, you could get the John Stewart skin, and it changed. It didn't change his play style at all, but
Right.
it changed what his voice sounded like, and of course
And
his
what he
look.
looks like. Yeah.
Um, that's cool. Um, clearly you're enjoying it. So I mean, that's
Hmm.
obviously a play. I mean, I'm already excited for the game. I would have loved to have gotten into the beta. We'll have a talk about that later, WB. But um, I mean, I'm like right now, like I would really love to be playing that right now because I feel like I can't wait till May.
I feel you.
Although only 4 people and then only being multiplayer doesn't really do much for me. Like I really love what NetherRealms has been doing in terms of the way that they craft the story in fighting games, where it kind of forces you to use
Completely agreed.
all the different characters. Like I feel like every single fighting game on the planet could thoroughly use a serious lesson from
You
Ed Boon
yeah,
and that team.
use their story method.
I mean, it
Like
just,
Mortal Kombat X and Injustice, both phenomenal the way they do it.
yeah, I'm just
Both phenomenal.
like, I mean, they started it with MK9.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and I just like, I really, really love that. Not only do I love that way of doing a story in a fighting game where it gives you a reason to play with other characters you might not normally play with,
Right.
gives you the opportunity to then learn some from them and expand your playing styles or just maybe your go-to characters, right? Um,
Hmm.
versus basically every other fighting game is just like, okay, here's a character select screen, pick a person and just play through and then fight the boss and see what their ending is, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, but actually playing through an actual story, like I can't even tell you, as much as I love Tekken, which I used to hate Tekken, but as much as I love Tekken, their story makes no sense. I mean, there is a story that makes sense. The endings for individual characters, where it's like, okay, well, this is what the story would be if this character had actually won the tournament.
One.
But in reality,
Right.
they didn't win the tournament. So it doesn't actually count. You know what I mean? In the actual story, this is what happened. And I don't know. It's just gotten to the point where it's so convoluted, and a lot of times, I guess there's something that's niche about Tekken's endings because a lot of them are really just funny. They're just like slapstick, kind of silly, whatever. And I give them
Hmm.
credit for making actual endings for the characters that are like some characters might have a fully animated like hand drawn kind of animation ending, and then of course other characters will have a fully computer animated ending, and some of them will just be like individual pictures, like a. So I dig that, but a lot of times, man, you fight through with a character that's really tough to beat the game with, and it will be a crap ending. And at the end of each one of these games, the way NetherRealm has been doing them, like I always feel like I'll be honest, like Mortal Kombat X, I wasn't happy with who they ended up having being the people that ended up winning the day, so to speak. I'm not a Johnny Cage fan. I like Cassie, but I mean, come on. But I felt highly satisfied with the way it worked, and so like I'm just really excited about playing the story. So I probably never bother with the multiplayer unless I'm messing around with you guys or something. Um, but man, how would you feel if they added like a tag team match in that game?
Let's
That would be really
let's
dope.
do it,
And with
please.
some of
So
the
much
combos you
crap.
possibly could
Please.
pull off, like switching in and out, that'd be so dope.
Yeah, I plan on going through the first one again. Like I started the other day, I was showing it to Toya,
Yeah.
and the next thing you know, like I got up to Green Lantern. I was like, "You want to keep going?" She was like, "I don't know." It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I pulled you in. This thing's got you
I
Yeah,
will
already."
it's a dope
say,
story. There's no two ways about that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll make sure that she finishes it before two comes out. So when I pop that bad boy in,
She
we're
knows
going
what's
straight to
going
story
on.
mode. Yep, let's go.
yeah,
Yeah.
I will
Straight to
say,
story
in
mode.
playing in the beta, like it seems like they're taking into consideration that you've already played the first Injustice, because there's no tutorial, there's no nothing. Like you just jump right in, you're fighting people. So If you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna get wrecked in the first couple tries that you go into it.
Wow. Well, I mean, you
Mm.
did say
Now,
that there was one like complaint you had about like not being able to see your win loss
Yeah,
ratio.
it's weird. So the exact same way, when you played Mortal Kombat X, if you played online, whenever it paired you up with a person, you could always see their stats when you go to actually accept that challenge. But you could always go and check and look at your win loss ratio on there. But at least in the side of the beta right now, you can't see that. And like, and I was on a nice winning streak for a second. Little side note, um on the on the armor, when you armor up, you can actually get sets of armor, but you have to get them in pieces, which at least in the beta seems almost impossible. Like, it's not, all those pieces aren't going to be there. But I got to the point where I fought a couple of people that had like full sets of armor, and each armor has its own level. So like, I was level 7 with my Supergirl, and I was fighting someone that was like level 30 as Batman. Now, granted, I don't know
What?
if maybe that was some of the possible, maybe like the developmental team that was in there playing it, because I was playing the game like crazy, and I was barely getting armor. I was getting duplicate armor pieces, but somehow they managed to assemble, like, I guess you could call, they call them their legendary armor
Yeah.
sets.
Yeah.
mhm.
And it was insane. Like, I stood no chance. Like, when you look at the health difference, because you can see the difference in your stats. Like, I say, if you add something that gives you a health boost, you can see the difference in the combination. And when you pick characters on the select screen, you can tell whose character has an advantage, because what'll happen is, when it gets ready to go into the match, you'll like punch the other person. Whoever goes first is the weaker person, and whoever's stronger goes second. And they kind of leave like a devastating shot, and like slows down when you punch them. It's pretty cool. But you can
Got it.
tell who
Okay.
has that advantage per se, at least in armaments. But if you meet a skilled player, it may not matter anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to make matchmaking very interesting. Obviously, for
Oh yeah.
tournament play, they're going to turn that off.
Oh,
Like, it
of
won't it
course.
won't have anything to do with that kind of stuff. Um but it makes me wonder, with an element like that that seems so important and intrinsic to the game itself, as far as like finding pieces of armor, changing the way that you fight, or the kind of a possibly the style that you have, the kind of health that you have. It makes me wonder how that is going to play into the story.
That's what I was about to say. I wonder if it's gonna affect the cutscenes. Like, will I be able to see them? Like, when
Well,
I go back and play the second time, see people wearing the new stuff that I've put on them, or will everybody kind of just have like a blank slate when you're going through the story?
yeah, I'm wondering whether or not there are pieces of armor that you'll get just for completing the story, or if you know what I mean, or if there's something that you'll
Mm-hmm.
get. Like, if you remember in Injustice, in the first Injustice game, they had the Star Labs stuff. So there
Hmm.
could be something like that where Star Labs was like, do these things with this character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it did things like maybe opened up a skin, or that kind of stuff. So it's possible that there'll be something again like that, where there'll be Star Labs, and you'll go through with Supergirl, or Atrocitus, and do certain challenges or something like that, and then you'll open certain pieces of armor, and maybe that's how you get certain armor sets. But how that will affect the story, I don't know. It might not do anything, but it does seem. I'm just saying that because it seems like it's such an important part of the game and the way the game has been designed. Is it going to be that as you're going through the story, you will be doing so to collect certain pieces of armor that will then, if you're playing as Batman and he needs to fight or stop Superman again, will he be getting pieces of armor that, do additional damage against a Kryptonian? You know what I
Mm.
mean? Or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. I'm just, because it seems like that sort of has to be wrapped into the story somehow. Um, Otherwise, doesn't seem like it would be or it should be such an important piece of the play mechanic to begin with.
Right.
That's what
Um,
you're saying.
but yeah, I mean, obviously that remains to be seen. I'm glad you're having a good time with it. Um, I think that's awesome. I'm excited for it. So enjoy. Do you know when it ends?
I don't like when you're on their website. Like it doesn't have any indication of like start date, end date. It doesn't have any of that on there. I remember when the registration went up for it, like you registered and like the very next day I know they had started sending out certain codes, but there wasn't like at least another method to them doing it. But I mean, as of now, I don't know.
I mean, I know that they began sending out codes to different groups of people at different times, it seems like. Um, because you didn't get your code right away. I know that people were on and playing the beta before your code came to you.
Right.
And trust me, I've been hopeful. I've been looking at my email every day, like, what's going on? What's up with that beta code? Trying to get in here and lose some matches, please. But, um, yeah, okay. Well, I guess we'll know when you can't play it anymore. How
Yep.
about that?
As soon as I'm be
Pretty
mad
much.
when that happens.
You'll be all right because that Wildlands beta is getting ready to start, bruh.
Yeah, I guess that can take the
And
void for now.
oh, it's gonna have to because you will be playing that. We will be on that thing together, sir. Most definitely.
Ooh,
Hey, so listen,
can't wait for that.
let's change modes real quick and talk about some other news that came down the pipeline. So, a few days back, there was kind of this cryptic message from Marvel, like, look out for a message from us tomorrow. And it's like, okay, what is this? Like, we didn't know what it was going to be. Are they announcing a new movie? Something happening, in this Inhumans versus X-Men thing? What is going on? Um, and it turned out that it was a game announcement from Marvel and Square Enix, and the development team behind the new Tomb Raider games. And it is
Mm-hmm.
it is a it is an Avengers uh game, and that is very interesting. The trailer is cryptic. It's short. It's more like a teaser. Doesn't show you any gameplay or anything like that. Just shows like it. You hear a voiceover, kind of saying things about kind of bringing the team back together and the importance of those kinds of things, and then it talks about um things like the I mean, you see like Thor's hammer on the ground and see some lightning,
Right.
and you
Iron Man's glove and Captain America's shield.
yeah. Are we
Yeah,
allowed to
like all
call them
damaged. Yeah.
gloves? Would he be upset with that, or do they have to be gauntlets?
Hmm.
Probably want to be gauntlets.
Oh, but man, I bet you Spider-Man could tick him off by talking about how he shoots bolts from his gloves. That would be hilarious.
Look at you with your little
Yeah,
lightning gloves.
I think this is really interesting. What do you guys think this game is going to be?
Man, that's a
First thing that
toss up.
pops in my head is Tomb Raider. Like the team behind Tomb Raider, but I know they have a hand in, well, not Crystal Dynamics, but Eidos and Square with Dos Ex. And that's completely different. It's a first person shooter. That takes place in the future. Then you got a third person like adventure survival game. Like, ah, I'm hoping it's more on the Tomb Raider side. Uh, who knows? Either you play. I'm guessing you're probably going to play somebody new, going around trying to reassemble the Avengers. First thing that popped in my mind, but I'm leaning to hopefully more of the Tomb Raider ish kind of thing, like a little bit open and adventure and all that kind of stuff.
What about you, New Joker? What do you think?
So like when I initially think about it, seeing Square Enix first, for me the first thing that came to mind was just like a Final Fantasy type of thing, and whether it be like some type of open, I don't want to say open world, but I would love them to use like the concept of Ultimate Alliance. Like as much as we want a new Ultimate Alliance game, we want it. I was hoping for that, but maybe something along the lines of a Final Fantasy type of setup. So potentially like something turn based. It would be a little bit weird to me for like a Marvel game like that, but at the same time, it sounds like that could be like an interesting setup. Um, but just like Sin said, with the Tomb Raider team being involved with it, there's just different possibilities, and it's like I'm very excited for it, but without yet knowing, exactly what type of game it is, it's a little scary at the same time.
Um, you mean in terms of the potential for it to be terrible because it's a, a comic book game?
A little bit on both
Uh,
sides. I mean, if it's like Ultimate Alliance, we're good, but ugh.
mm, I mean, maybe. I mean, okay, so I do have. I feel like there is probably some type of role playing. There are some type of role playing elements involved. Not necessarily because of the Square Enix thing, but technically there's that in Tomb Raider 2. You know what I mean? Like as you play through, you
Hmm.
get better at different skills, and then you can upgrade your weapons, and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
I certainly am in the mindset that it is a multiplayer game, that is a co-op game. Um, just because of the way one, it's Avengers, so I understand why you would show all the different people, but when you kind of talk about reassembling the team and bringing the team back together, I mean maybe you're Coulson, you know what I'm saying, or something like that, but um it seems to me like it would be one of those things where you pick a character and you begin to build that character. Now, whether or not it's an Ultimate Alliance style game or not, um, I like those games a lot. They were done under Activision, um, which I don't know if they still have a license to do any games for Marvel or not. I know that EA has deals with Disney to do um, Star Wars games, and I think Activision has something going on with that too. But when Marvel shut down their gaming studios, when they effectively said we're done, those Disney Infinity games were kind of cool. With the Toys to Life thing, and they got into the Marvel thing, but when Disney said, "Look, we're done making games. Like we're through with that. We're gonna let other people, you know, have at this." Um, it kind of leaves it open to be any kind of thing. My concern with this is, I mean, I expect that we'll see more at like probably E3
Hmm.
is when we'll probably get a really good trailer and have a better idea of what this actually is. Um,
Agree.
this is probably, in my opinion, the worst kind of tease. Like, I just don't understand why you do this and you don't give any information. Like, you show a teaser trailer that just has, yeah, I mean, really, it could be a teaser for any. It could have been a teaser for a new animated film. You know what I mean?
Right.
The way that it worked. I mean, it's not like there's gameplay or anything like this. They make this big deal about, you see Square Enix kind of pop in with the all black background and then fade away. And then they show you, one of the characters' weapons or whatever. And then you see Crystal Dynamics come from the black background and then fade away. Like they made it all extra dramatic. You know what I mean? And then it's kind of like, all right, but what is it? Right? And I guess, it works. People are talking about it. We're talking about it.
Hmm.
But it's freaking February. And for something that seems like it's got to be this early, I can't imagine that it's a game that's coming this year. It's probably not coming until next year sometime. And considering all of the things that seem to always be happening within the Marvel universe, we don't know if this is part of something that's going on with the cinematic universe. We don't know if this has something to do with the comic book universe. We don't know if this is something that is something all its own, a
True.
universe all its own. Um, so I mean, yeah, there is a lot that remains to be seen.
Way more questions than answers right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, just a lot. And let me ask this: what I think you kind of already answered this, at least for yourself, New Joker. But what kind of game would you like for it to be?
Um, you know what I would really enjoy if this turned out to be, which this could be kind of cool, if it actually linked to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and maybe they were talking, getting the Avengers back together. Maybe there's a potential this could be somewhere of a leading to like, aftermath or similar to how the Infinity War is supposed to be set up, which would be kind of cool. Now, I would like to see. I want to see something similar to how like the Spider-Man games were back in the day. So, but maybe more of a little of a team element to it, and give you a little bit more open world feel to it. Um, Damn, I guess I might as well say something like Final Fantasy 15, but just but just let us all be able to control people at the same time, which would be kind of dope.
Do you think that when we get the 4-player co-op DLC for Final Fantasy 15, it will be any indication of what we're looking at for this game?
Maybe. Maybe that's how they'll drop subtle hints. Maybe you'll be able to download alternate skins for the characters, and maybe there'll be different Marvel
Yo,
superheroes.
if you gave me a freaking Spider-Man shirt for Noctis the Rock in this game, son, done, bruh. Um, that would just be dumb. But um, yeah, I mean, Sim, what do you think? What would you actually want this game to be? Like, we haven't had a real Avengers game in a very long time. I mean, you can't even really call Ultimate Alliance an Avengers game.
Right, because it was a
So,
Marvel game,
not
like
since
the best
like that like side-scrolling Avengers beat 'em up arcade game. You know what I
classic.
mean? Have we really had an actual Avengers game? Now we got a terrible Iron Man game. And a terrible Captain America game.
Mm.
Those original movies first released or whatever, they were like games around. Like Sega made an Iron Man game that didn't feel anywhere near as good to fly around in as it does to fly around as Iron Man in the Lego games. What what would you want this to be?
I'm thinking something more of the Mass Effect Bioware format.
Okay.
Like you're playing a character, and from kind of what the teaser told us, you're trying to go around and find all the Avengers and reassemble them back together for some big massive quest to stop Thanos or somebody like that. You know, so kind of put your team together. Like you can get this Avenger on your team if you want, or you can get this person, but you got to go jump through all the hoops and rigmarole to get them and build them up and size them and all that kind of stuff. Probably something along that lines.
Yeah,
Different
I
places you can
mean,
go, different territories.
that sounds kind of awesome. Um I think that there is a high possibility that I mean, I guess you kind of have to look at it from the aspect of as far as the MCU is concerned, those characters' movies are coming to an end. It's over for them. So we're gonna get Thor 3. We already had our third Captain America film. We had our third Iron Man film. We're gonna get whatever we're gonna get from the Hulk in that third, you know, Thor film.
Right.
And really, it's time for these guys to kind of hang it up and retire and move on. And it's time for the new folks who have come in, your Scarlet Witch and your Vision, and Falcon, to kind of step up and be the new Avengers going forward. It could be that we don't see the Avengers at all anymore after the events of whatever's going to happen in Infinity. It could just be that it's Guardians of the Galaxy and whatever other characters they manage to get back, having, you know, worked out whatever they managed to work out with Sony and maybe if they work
Mm-hmm.
something out with Fox. But it also could be if you look at what's going on in the comic books and what's happened with the Civil War 2. The Avengers teams are kind of split after what happened with, X-Men and Avengers fighting each other. And, again, now the X-Men are off dealing with the Inhumans, which is kind of another big thing. But the Avengers have kind of been separated from one another. Those core members that you see in the trailer anyway, in that teaser, um, you have an Avengers team that is like an all-female Avengers team with characters like She-Hulk and so forth leading that team. So it could be related to the comic books and bringing those original characters back together and kind of even in some terms rebooting what that is. Um, I think in terms of a game, I would kind of like to see it be. I mean, I think a role playing game would be cool, but I'm also very interested in something that is more or less like grab a character and I need to beat them up. You know what I mean? I certainly don't want to see a fighting game with these characters. We already have that. Um, Square Enix had their chance at a fighting game. I mean, if you gave me Air Geist, I guess, with Avengers characters, I'd play it. I'd try
Yeah.
it. Um, but truthfully, at the end of the day, I think that depending on how they deal with the characters and who you actually get to be again, you could be that, yes, you're someone else. And you're just trying to kind of pull the team back together, and it could just be a very heavy story game. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but when it comes to Crystal Dynamics, the kind of games that they generally make, we know Tomb Raider from them, and like I guess like Gex, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
Square Enix's name being on it, I think is only important in terms of the fact that they're gonna be the ones that publish the game. I don't know that RPG elements and all that kind of stuff. Like I think maybe getting excited about that, even though they showed the name so prominently, is probably not where it is. I think there's a slim possibility that seeing this means more to me in terms of what's going on with Kingdom Hearts 3 and why Kingdom Hearts 3 isn't as far along as it should be, because Disney has these Marvel properties now and they need to put some Marvel characters into Kingdom Hearts 3.
Hmm.
Um that Square Enix showing their name so prominently in this very very Marvel trailer, that actually talks to me more about that, I think, than it does for what this game is going to be. I'm not honestly sure what I want it to be. I just want it to be good, whatever they do.
I think that
Um,
we can all agree on.
yeah. So I'm highly interested in seeing what they turn out, and again, I don't expect that we'll see any more from it until probably E3. I think it's just too early on, considering all we got was that teaser. I could say maybe we see something at a PAX or something like that sooner than E3 if they had given us more, but they didn't. So I think E3 is where we get more of that, and I think it'll be interesting to see where it shows up. Will it be at Microsoft's conference? Will it be
Ooh.
with them focusing heavily on Scorpio, and that power? Will it be
Mm-hmm.
something that is on Sony's stage? Will it show up with the Switch? Um, is it possible that Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics are working on a game that's going to be a handheld game
Mm.
or a mobile game? You know what I mean? Because with that kind of teaser, like with what it looked like, it wasn't even really honestly like the best CG I've seen. It was very, very kind of like minimalist. Um, it could be a mobile game.
Could be, because they
It could be
definitely
a
didn't
mobile game.
specify that.
Yeah, it could very easily be something that's just like, yeah, we're doing a game for iPads. And I mean, Square Enix has and Crystal Dynamics have definitely, like, with the think about the Go games that they've been doing with Hitman Go and Lara Croft Go, and
Mm-hmm.
they did Deus Ex Go. So they could be going into some kind of it could be a mobile game for real. That would be disappointing to me. It would probably be good, but I'd still be disappointed.
I hope not.
Um, Again, just the trailer looked weird to me. Like when I look at that trailer, and I've watched it like 3 times. When I look at the trailer, it just doesn't come off even like a serious teaser for a console game. It just doesn't. It doesn't scream PS4 Pro 4K. You know what I mean? It just doesn't do any of those things. So I'm a little concerned about that. So I want to kind of temper my expectations for it, but I am hoping that it's good, whatever it is. So um I think that's about it for today, gentlemen. You guys ready to wrap it up?
Sure can.
Let's go. Get back to this death trap.
Yeah, Death Trap is calling me. So having said that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Keep in mind that you can check us out on YouTube, youtube.com /Loading Snacks Crew, or if you just search Loading Snacks, you'll find us for sure. Be mindful of the fact that you can like, share, and subscribe at your leisure, but sooner rather than later would be better for us. Um, Make sure you leave us a comment, give us a like or a thumbs up, and share with us on iTunes or Stitcher or Libsyn, wherever you happen to be listening to this podcast through. Um, Make sure you check us out on Facebook. We try to make sure that we post the most up to date news, be it anime stuff. Sin likes to post that stuff a lot,
Yes.
or comic books related things. We also do get into that stuff. We kind of keep a little more gaming focused here on the podcast, but we are true geeks and we like some of everything. So be mindful of checking that out for us. If you guys want to reach out to us, certainly reach out to the entire crew at loadingsnacks@gmail.com. You can reach me directly, gauge.loadingsnacks@gmail.com. You can do the same thing for the other gentleman, sin.loadingsnacks@gmail. New Joker, that's
Yep.
NUJOKER, by the way. Is there an 89 on your Gmail account, Jokes?
Nope.
Okay, just newjoker.loadingsnacks@gmail.com.
Yes, sir.
Find us on the socials. I'll give you mine. I'm Empty Shells, MTSHELLZ, your Twitter and your Instagram and so forth. You can find me playing video games under that same moniker. If you'd like to do that, by all means, please feel free to do so. If you'd like to join our group that we have on like Xbox Live, you can certainly shoot a request for that, and we'll check you out and help you jump in and play some games with us like Death Trap. Sin, let the folks know where they can get a hold of you.
Hey, y'all can hit me up on Instagram and Twitter at Sincere619. Same for Xbox. And if you want to get at me on the PlayStation, it's the same thing. Just replace that I with an L, and that's where you'll find me.
New
Joker?
Joker. New Joker went away.
Okay.
You can get New Joker at New Joker 89 across the socials.
And his New Joker's Adventures on Facebook.
That is absolutely true. Make sure
Mhm.
you check that out. I think he got some good picks. We had we helped promote a cosplay karaoke get together at Game, out here where we live in the DMV area in Baltimore. Really, really good time. Cool thing. We got some more stuff coming up, and man, we got Katsicon coming in a couple weeks. So definitely keep your eye out for that, because Jokes likes to take a lot of pictures, and he happens to take some pretty good ones. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna give one last shout out to my man K, Creative Hands Multimedia. If you guys need, video done, production, audio work done, he's your guy. He takes care of all that stuff for us
Absolutely.
on our
Absolutely.
on our channel on YouTube, and actually also provided the music for the podcast. So make sure you check him out. We appreciate that. With that, we're out. Toodles and loos.